Hi, everyone. This is Hannah Hanley, and I'm joined by Nate Ganna. We both work in the spirits industry, and this is Caviar and Chips, our podcast dedicated to the industry, what's going on in our lives, and more. Thanks for joining us. Let's get into it. This episode of Caviar and Chips is brought to you by Hess Persson Estates. Looking for wines with personality and purpose? Meet Hess Persson Estates. From the bold, silky Lion Tamer Red Blend and the brightly elegant Panthera Chardonnay to the classic Cabernets of the Hess collection, these wines are made to impress. Sustainably crafted in Napa at the top of Mount Veeder with generations of passion, they're perfect for elevating any evening, whether it's dinner with friends or just you and your favorite playlist. HessPersonEstates.com. Enjoy responsibly. Must be 21 or older to purchase. Hess Persson Estates, Napa, California. All right, welcome back to another episode of Caviar and Chips. We're stoked. We're here today at Hess Persson Estates. That sounds nice. With Stephanie Pope, who is the director of winemaking for Hess. And Nate and I have been here all day. We've been hanging out.
Damn right.
Nate made me go out to the bars last night, and there was Fernet, there was Underbug, we went to Folklore in Napa.
I didn't make you drink 5,000 drinks last night and then ask for a martini followed by, "Excuse me, sir, are you doing okay? You seem stressed. Can I please have a glass of Chardonnay?"
That guy was not well.
He was so nice. What are you talking about?
He was so sweet, but he was not.
He's probably stressed that he had you asking for a drink every 3 minutes.
Cross-eyed leg.
And then you got that drink and you didn't like it.
Oh, I got the creme brulee martini and it tasted like meat. It was weird.
That's gross. I think that you were the stressor. I'm just going to throw that out there.
That was like the most fat kid drink I've ever had in my life.
We once made peanut butter cookies that tasted like ham, so
we
called them ham cookies.
How did you do that?
I don't know. We followed the recipe. They tasted like ham.
Did you add ham?
No, it was peanut butter.
Wow.
I feel like the glass got washed with like the plates or something, and the glass was like meat.
It was a meat washed glass.
It was meat washed.
It's like when they do a wash, you know?
Yeah, like a fat wash.
Like a fat wash, but they just meat washed the glass.
Delicious.
Our freshest ham, madame.
The food was excellent.
The food was phenomenal.
Was it country ham or was it hamon?
Yeah, was it
It was definitely country.
Ooh.
Definitely country.
Also, who doesn't brulee a brulee?
I know, it was not.
It wasn't bruleed?
No, it just had like a sugar rim.
That wasn't toasted.
No.
It was really just a whiskey sour.
I feel like we missed something there.
It was not made with whiskey, though. It was made with
Ham.
ham.
It was a ham sour. This is fully unhinged. Oh, God.
The best part is that the rest of the night was super fun, super great. We went to Folklore in Napa because we had some friends who came into our Tales of the Cocktail Lounge, and we hit them up and we're like, "Hey, we're coming to the bar, blah, blah, blah." And then it was like us and the owners. They let us eat their leftover fried olives.
Sounds delicious.
I gotta say, they were overly nice to us last night.
Yeah, they were so nice.
They were super sweet. Yeah, we went in on a whim, and she wasn't even working, left their restaurant, and came to meet us. That was pretty incredibly hospitable for like just randomly walking in. You know what I mean?
Welcome to small town
you
Napa.
guys are unbelievable, and like it's kind of our thing, right? Like met you, you were like, "I'm the winemaker for Hess," and I like literally just like, "Oh my God, marry me?"
Yeah, you said that. Yeah, that's correct.
I think I did, right? Because I was like, wow, I have followed you guys for like over a decade, and I was obsessed, and I was like, oh my God, I never thought this was possible to meet like winemakers like this. Holy shit, this is the greatest day ever.
Celebrities.
Yeah, celebrity, see?
I think I told him he'd have to be my future ex-husband because I was already married at the time. Still married, same guy.
Dang. You know what? Lucky guy. I love you, Emily.
Emily is Nate's girlfriend.
Love you, babe.
All right, Stephanie, thank you for having us today.
Thanks for visiting us.
Welcome to Caviar and Chips. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What's your background? How'd you get into wine?
Ooh, that's a long story. I don't know if we have enough time for all of that, but my dad was in the Army.
You were born in Hawaii.
Yeah, I was born in Hawaii. Lived in Texas, Tennessee, Colorado, Nevada, Italy, Washington State, California. So I was about halfway through 6th grade when we moved to California. My dad was looking for small town Italy in Northern California. Mistakes were made. It's not the same thing.
Welcome to Napa.
It wasn't even Napa. We were in Susanville, an hour west of Reno.
Wow. Okay.
So,
What?
so you know where California and Oregon kind of meet in the top corner up there?
Yeah.
We were way up there.
Like Sons of Anarchy.
Like State of Jefferson, yeah. Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's where we ended up. I ended up going through high school up there. It's where I really found myself, I guess you could say. I learned to play the flute. Really got into music. Graduated as valedictorian in my high school. Was real dorky. Didn't have a choice. I had to go to college. That was what my parents always said. But I was like, I don't know what I want to do with myself. Like, my parents are both in the medical field. And I was like, yeah, so not doing that because sick people are terrible. And
I'm glad we said that you weren't going to curse on this show because you were trying to be refined. So that was a really good point you made there.
I didn't curse. Sick people are terrible. If anybody's ever had children, sick children suck.
Nasty.
Put them in adults and they're even worse. And so I knew I wasn't going to do that. I can't spell, so I wasn't going to write. But I liked sciences. So one night, my dad was alone while my mom and I were doing the dishes. And this was back when he didn't want to admit he needed reading glasses. So he's holding the wine bottle about arm's length away. And he's staring at it. And we hear him go, huh. And we're like, what's up, homie? Like, what you doing over there? And literally, excuse my French, but we heard him say, some lucky bastard gets to do this for a living. Oh. And we all go, what are you talking about? And he goes, somebody gets to make wine for a living. Someone has to put that in a bottle. And I, as a joke, at 18, said, well, I'll be that person. So I declared my degree as winemaking going into college at Davis. I had never worked in a winery, had no idea what it required, didn't even work a harvest, got out in 4 years, did my first harvest at Trefethen and fell in love and never looked back.
Wow.
Oh, I'm obsessed. I love Trefethen too. My husband and I went to Trefethen we did a huge road trip after we got married almost 15 years ago. And Trefethen was one of our winery stops back in the day.
That is so cool.
I wasn't there 15 years ago, but you might have been having wines I made.
Oh my gosh.
You said that to me yesterday.
Yeah,
and
I did.
Didn't realize the extensive background that you had in terms of how many places you've been and learned from, and then how long you've been at Hess, which is like, I mean, I haven't liked Hess as long as you've been here because I haven't been in wine in that capacity for that long. So everything I've had from Hess has been your bottle.
That's true. Yes.
Kind of crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, of all things, and then to end up in my position and get fortunate enough to meet you and learn that you've done all these things. So where were you after Trefethen?
So I did my first internship was at Trefethen. While I was there, I knew it was only going to be a harvest job. So then I left Trefethen to go work in New Zealand. So I did a harvest at Whitehaven Wine Company. And at the time, they were actually just working on having Gallo do their import. So they were still family owned at the time. And so I did that for a harvest where I met my husband. I joked that he's my import. While I was down there, I actually got a call back from Trefethen to come back and do a second harvest. So I did a harvest there as well, again. And then I left Trefethen in the spring and did 2 years at Charles Krug. So I've only worked at family-owned wineries.
Oh, my God. Okay.
And then I came here in 2008 when I was headhunted and recruited.
I love that. So Stephanie's been here over 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Started August of 2008.
I think that is so... That happens in Scotch whiskey and in bourbon. I really think that the most iconic people in our industry are the ones that stayed the longest, right? When you look at Connor O'Driscoll, when you look at Ian from Lagavulin, when you look at the most iconic people,
Richard from Dalmore.
Oh God,
the most iconic.
Literally the most iconic, the most viral distiller ever by far in whiskey for sure.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, like that's where your legacy is made. And I know you have a goal in mind of doing something while your time here.
I think I boldly declared that I want to be Hess's first 100-point winemaker.
Let's go.
Wow.
As the teenagers would say.
And
Right. I'm already setting records being their first female winemaker and only the third one they've ever had. So, let's just throw it on the wall and say I also want to do 100 points. But
And
Let's
you
go.
also didn't know that you have a 98-point wine, which was really funny because that's how cool you are being nonchalant about the fact that you made a 98-point wine. And Audrey pointed that out, which is really neat that you have that. So you're not far off.
I'm close.
What do you think the 2-point difference is, in your opinion? Because I always think about this with Michelin stars. What is the difference between a 2 and a 3? And obviously there are differences in terms of you have your wine category, your food, and then your dessert. But what do you think the 2 points are in wine?
That's a wonderful question. And I don't know if I have the right answer, but I do think it has something to do with the stars aligning without being too esoteric. I think it does involve everything coming together. So it's the perfect vintage. It's finding both, not just the perfect vintage here where the grapes are grown. I think it's also the forests having a great year, the barrels that come from, right? So making sure that they're toasted perfectly. I think it's finding the right blend, the components, whether it's Cabernet blended with Malbec or, whatever wine it might be. My goal is to be Cabernet, of course. Being a Cabernet house is that would be ideal. And I think it just finds that we hit that perfect note that when the bottle is opened, there's a moment where the entire room stops and takes a pause and breathes in and nods at the same time. And they go, this is it. And that's just finding that right magic.
I just got chills.
Oh.
Stephanie.
Wow. That was so well put.
Yeah.
Wow.
Damn, you're iconic.
Yeah, I think you'll probably do it just based off the fact that you seem pretty driven by it in a lot of ways. Would that be accurate?
Yeah. I am a chronic overachiever. So I was valedictorian in my high school and I never could let that drop. So got to be number one.
She's going to be valedictorian in wine too, obviously.
Got to do it, obviously. I will never settle for second place. That's first loser.
Fuck yes, dude. Fuck yes. That is first loser. And any parent that
Damn.
says that that's not true is also a former loser.
Lying. Yeah, they're losers
100%.
themselves.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Do you still play the flute?
Not as much as I'd like to, but my daughter is actually a member of the Napa Valley Youth Symphony. And so I am teaching her or encouraging her to continue with it, I should say. She now has private lessons and I will practice with her.
Cool.
But I don't really, every so often I'll get a wild hair and I'll go out on the balcony and play it out there in the cellar just to hear it echo.
Oh my God.
But I don't do it very often.
It's really funny because our next guest is in the Louisville Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I really think that you guys should just hit it off. With
Yeah, Dan Calloway plays the French horn. And that's actually how he ended up in Louisville, was playing in the symphony.
Sound bourbon.
I think he's the VP of production.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now.
Get it right.
So fast. I can't keep it. They were on 60 Minutes this week.
Were they really?
Yeah, they were on 60 Minutes for the bourbon industry, and everybody filmed everything there, and he got to speak about what he's been doing and how big the industry is. And I think it was really a testament to everything that's going on right now with trade. So it was a good time to air that. But he is the man. I'm surprised you didn't meet him at Aspen.
You know what? I maybe
Really
did.
Tall.
Okay, yes, I think I did.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Unbelievable.
extremely nice.
The best. The best, yeah.
You know what doesn't come up a lot at a food and wine event is what musical instruments you play. So
French horn?
this
You
one time
should
at
more.
band camp,
No one.
More.
Nobody that is under the age of 37 is going to understand.
No, I'm
that
very
reference.
familiar with that movie.
Yeah, nobody under the age of that.
Yeah.
But
Our Uber driver last night, who was 84, literally,
yeah.
she was 84. She,
Connie?
Constance, Connie.
Yes.
She has driven over 15,000 Uber rides in the Napa area.
Didn't she deal drugs in Canada?
She did not say that.
felt
Her
like
car
it.
They
got
pulled her
checked.
car apart at the American border.
She was a
Connie's sketchy.
baby
Connie is
photographer
weird.
for Sears.
No, she did Sears family portraits.
She did Sears baby pictures in the 60s, 70s, maybe 80s.
And said that at the border, and they ripped her car apart because she said that she did baby pictures.
Because she seems sketchy.
Because she had drugs in those babies and they were coming over the border.
We got in this Uber and I was like,
Where the fuck
is this how I die?
That's how you die. Connie will drive you into a wall because she can't see well at night.
Connie's a narco.
She cannot see well at night.
Connie should not be driving at night.
Honestly, neither can I.
Right. I'm too old to see good at night, so Connie ergo cannot see anything at night.
No.
You just live so far away from anybody that I was so scared in your car.
Oh yeah. I live like on an island.
That's putting it very generously. Like
In the
Love
woods.
Island, where they take you and put you somewhere that you don't know where you went. That's kind of where Hannah lives.
It was like
Sounds sketchy.
terrifying. No, it's super nice and it's very
Peaceful.
peaceful and nice for family.
Idyllic.
Yeah, it's nice. We have an acre and a half. It's nice.
See, that's the dream.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not a dream. It's just very hard to get to.
Anyways, Connie would drive an Uber out there if she.
Yeah,
lived
she-
in-
oh,
should,
100%.
Connie, for sure.
Because it means money. Connie's hustling.
Connie
is
a baller.
hustling it. She invented the sun catcher. What?
The sun catcher?
The kind you put on your window?
Yeah, the little like sparkly thingy that you hang.
Yeah, but I don't think she patented it because
I've
otherwise
got
she wouldn't be
feeling
driving Uber.
She wouldn't be driving an Uber at 84. Just
Maybe she's driving Uber at 84 to meet people like you.
Oh,
nice,
anyways,
right?
we got into this because I said, "How old do you think he is?" And she said 45.
She said I was old.
Yeah. Well, you're only
She aged
40.
you up.
She aged me up.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The past few weeks I've been traveling for Hess,
Okay.
to promote the wine.
Yeah.
And every time I come into someone, they're like, I tell them like, I've been there for 17 years. And they're like, that math's not mathing.
That math.
Were you born here? And I'm like, no. How old do you think I am? They're all like, oh, 35. I'm like, love you.
See?
You're my favorite.
I didn't know
You have a
were
young
82.
vibe. Yeah, you have a totally young vibe.
The secret is you never grow up.
I love that. You
That's
drink a lot of champagne.
I would say my youthful appearance is all credited to Mount Veeder Cabernet. Drink a lot of Cabernet. It's good for your skin.
Oh.
This ad brought to you by Mount Veeder Cabernet Skincare.
Must be ingested only.
Don't rub
Do
it on
not
your
apply
face.
to your face or eyes.
Do not apply topically.
If contact with eyes, call 911 immediately.
Flush with water.
And as a
Heavily.
reminder, we are not doctors, and this is not medical advice.
We are not good at that.
We have had a blast today. We did a ATV tour, which was so cool. Audrey, who is our Audrey, what's your title?
Hostess with the mostest.
Yeah, she's an amazing hostess.
Stephanie Pope Handler.
Stephanie Pope Handler.
Stephanie Pope's handler.
Yeah,
It's a lot of work.
At Stephanie Pope's handler.
I'm Nate Ganna's handler.
She doesn't do it justice. It's mostly Stephanie Pope Handler.
I love that.
It really
Her job's to make me
is.
look good.
She drove us in side by side up to this beautiful viewpoint where we could see Napa. It was fantastic. Gave us some wine at 10 a.m.
Can't drink all day if you don't start early.
Phenomenal. See? How are you supposed to get done what you want to get done if you can't start early, Hannah? You know that video with the guy waking up at 4 a.m. and the
Oh, where
face,
he like sticks
ice?
the oranges
Yeah.
up his nose.
Yeah. This is what we did this morning.
No, thank you.
Oh my god, no! What we should have done one where we like put our face in the Cabernet.
There's still
There you go.
There's
My morning
still-
Cabernet facial.
Yeah, morning Cabernet facial. There's still time tonight.
He's an influencer in Napa.
Wow, you going with that?
She's owning it.
What are you guys drinking right now? What do you guys have?
Rosé?
At this exact moment in time, we're drinking small block rosé.
Tell us about it.
I swear my handler will hate me because I make a lot of Cabernet, but I talk a lot about my rosé. It's good rosé. So I have a personal goal, which is to try and make a French style rosé in California. And most people will laugh because that's almost impossible. But I feel like I'm finally starting to get close. So it's saignée or drain, bleed, saignée, fancy French word for bleed, of Pinot Noir. So it's 100% Pinot Noir rosé, stainless fermented. I'm going for very crisp, very light color, kind of like, for lack of a fancy descriptor, high poundability factor.
Patio pounder, baby.
Porch pounder, a session wine,
I love that.
drink it all day.
So not to sound nerdy or anything, but you kind of touched on a topic that I do want to talk to you about. Where do you feel that what you just said fits in with the tariffs that are going to come in with European wine and what you're making right now? Because clearly you make a more European style of wine, or you're addicted to that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, where do you see this going? And do you feel like America has a good alternative to European wines?
That feels like a double-edged sword that I don't know if I want to touch. I think the U.S. definitely makes extremely high-end wine. I think the advantage is you can get the same quality from an import for a lower price a lot of times. So, but different varietals. So I think if you're looking for Napa Cabs are beautiful. Napa Cabs are sexy. Napa Cabs, are Napa Cabs, right? But they're not necessarily at a price point that you're going to be able to pop the bottle every night and afford to drink, which I think is where a lot of the European wines have a slight edge over us because you can get very high quality wine at a repeat price.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So I think that's leveling the field, right? So I think even though a lot of the wines I make are tasting room only, I think you can go to our website, you can purchase them. There will be no added tariffs. The price point is now all of a sudden become level. So I think it will hopefully push people into experiencing wines that we're doing, going into the wineries themselves and going to their websites and looking to see what else we offer. Hess is very widely distributed. We have wines across the country, but what's on our website is very different. So that's where I get to play and have my little sandbox. So I'm making very esoteric white wines. I'm making, like I said, pretty lean style crisp rosé. I have high-end Pinot Noir. So I do think, in especially cooler climates, we are more on par with kind of what people are used to seeing in Europe, where some of the warmer appellations in Napa, you're still going to have your great classic cabs, your great, Napa shards. Those things are beautiful wines. They all have their place. But I think one thing that we have kind of pulled away from a little bit is the everyday affordability of day-to-day drinking. The great thing about us is we've got a lot of wines that you can drink every day.
Well, you were saying, and Audrey was saying, that you guys have a sub 50 cab.
We do. Napa Valley appellated. It's our Lomi Cabernet. It's in our purple label. So the one thing I love about Hess is I think our labels are very easy to see on a shelf because they're color coordinated. So our Hess Select Chardonnay is green, Hess Select Cabernet is red, Sauvignon Blanc is blue, Lomi is purple. So we kind of have this color scheme. I actually remember when I first started working at Hess, I had a friend that I knew from high school. And she's like, oh my gosh, my grandma has been drinking Hess Chardonnay from the day she remembers drinking Chardonnay. I'm like, best part is, it still looks the same. The label's still green. You can go pull the same wine off the shelf. We've updated the label. It's fresher, but it's still a green label Chardonnay. Like grandma still knows to go pull green label Chard. We make a Napa Valley Cabernet, 100% Napa Valley, that is sub $50.
Which, when you broke it down, I never thought about it until it was broken down for me because we're just not in wine. And when Audrey was saying that, I kind of thought about it for a second. I was like, well, that doesn't seem uncommon. And then you start thinking about it and you're like, holy shit, that is extremely uncommon nowadays. I guess my time has flown by and I've gotten so fucking old that I'm like, oh my God, I need to adjust for the price of eggs.
I mean, according to your Uber driver, you're 45, so you're old.
I mean, Jesus H, I am just not young anymore. And I looked at that and was like, what's the price for a carton of eggs? Is literally what went through my mind.
Yeah, when it's $8 a carton, a sub 50 Napa cab, you might as well just drop your pearls and fall on the floor.
Absolutely.
That's not something you're gonna find. And the great thing about that cab in particular is if you talk about drinking American, that wine's also aged in American oak. So it's 100% made here because we did a lot of research and we liked how that oak impacted those vineyards. So it really helped give this great vanilla and lushness. And so year over year, that wine is very consistent and it has a great pull. And again, $35 to $45 a night. I can drink that every night.
All right, we're going to play a quick fire round of trivia.
Oh, crap.
Your favorite wines from America against a Sangiovese.
What would I prefer in the U.S. versus a Sangio? Mendocino Mourvedre.
Whoa, different. I thought you were going to go Malbec.
No.
All right.
Sangio Mourvedre, those would be the pairs.
All right, Barolo.
Mount Veeder Malbec.
Ooh.
I mean, if you're going to ask me French champagne, it's Domaine Carneros. Already done.
Why don't you make a sparkling?
Too much work.
Ooh, really?
I have a major respect for people who do sparkling wine because once I ferment it, I'm done. You do sparkling wine, you ferment it, you blend it, you ferment it again. I don't have enough time to wait for it to ferment and bottle. I'm a very traditional person. So I believe the only way enjoy my sparkling wines if they're method traditionnel or method champenois, which is where they get their carbonation done in bottle. So, that process, the secondary fermentation is quick, but then you age it. And so then you're aging it. A lot of these things are 6, 8, 10 years old before they're ever disgorged and consumed. I'm not patient enough for that. I'm going to let someone else do that for me. I'll make Cabernet. I'll age it for 2 years, bottle it 2 years later, we're good. Like, sounds great.
It's fair. Yeah, it makes sense.
How do you get more Europeans to drink Napa Cab?
We have a hurdle there because I think in Europe you can get very low cost wine that's very high quality. And so they get used to drinking a €5 bottle of wine, and they don't drink varietal, they drink region. Whereas here we really tote the varietal and then the region. So I think it involves probably a little bit of education that like we just do it a little differently, right? Like Napa Valley doesn't mean this blend. Whereas if you're drinking a Bordeaux, that's what you're having. You're having Bordeaux. Whereas in Napa, you're not necessarily having Cabernet, like, right? So
You are very regionally based. When you say it that way, you're spot on. Like Willamette will be their own thing,
right?
And Washington will be their own thing, and then Napa comes to their own thing, and then even Paso comes to their own thing, and so you start breaking it down by region.
But then within it, like you just don't go drink a Napa Valley wine.
No.
Right. You drink Napa Valley Cabernet or you drink Napa Valley Malbec. Like we really put emphasis on the varietal, not just the region. So I think it's also teaching, well, first off, I think we have some things we have to learn as Napa winemakers, especially with the climate change, that we can't keep doing things the way we used to. So I think hanging things out to get really, really ripe is going to put us at risk for, things that might happen. So I think we also need to learn to change our winemaking style to go towards more high acid, probably slightly lower bricks, which also means lower alcohol, which then in turn means more food friendly, which is kind of where I have naturally gravitated towards. I like a higher acidity wine. And that's, I think, why I also tend to gravitate towards Pinot Noir and, more French style, because they do pair really well with food. Being here and having a European owner, that's kind of what we've always done. So we do have naturally lower alcohol wines compared to our other competitors that have high ageability, which again in Europe, most of those wines you're not drinking until they're much older.
Yes.
And I think that we really do put an emphasis on a food and wine pairing when you're drinking a Hess wine. So, I think there's a little bit of like having producers kind of come on board to that a little bit more, because I think the only way this industry is going to move forward is also learning how to kind of do it the way they used to do. It's like we got really used to great season after great season after great season, which means we can hang grapes out, let them get nice and ripe, get lots of high alcohol. And I think as climate change occurs, we have to try and relearn what it means to make a Napa wine.
You're the first person to say that without seemingly thinking that it was okay to stay stagnant. That's very interesting.
The minute you stay stagnant is the minute you die. Yeah. Got to stay nimble, continue to learn. And I think the great thing about making something like wine is that it's very season dependent. So every year we have an opportunity to do it again and do something different.
Stephanie, one of the things we talked about earlier was that you wake up every morning to work out, and that's important part of your routine. Tell us about your morning routine, and tell us about how you kind of balance wellness and taking care of yourself while working in the alcohol industry.
I would say I'm probably still figuring it out.
Aren't we all?
I get up every morning at a really ungodly early time. I would say it's probably 4:45 every morning.
Oh, I just shot myself in the face in the nicest way possible.
Right? It sounds miserable.
It is miserable.
I'm dumb. I'm an idiot.
I only know 4:45 p.m. Okay, wow.
I learned, so it started partly with having my daughter.
Yeah.
That when I got home from work, I didn't have the time to go exercise anymore.
Yeah. So
I flipped the workouts. I do at-home workouts. Like I said, I get up. I'm working out no later than 5:30 because you gotta wake up. I gotta do my Wordle. I gotta hit like the one that
connections.
Gotta hit those two before I can work out. Like that's a mandatory.
Yeah.
Can't work out until that happens.
Fair.
So then I do that, and then then I work in production, so I don't sit at a computer every day, especially during harvest.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time in vineyards, a lot of walking. It's a lot of just kind of checking what's going on in the cellar. I got to taste the barrels. So I'm up moving around. So yeah, I usually work out. I'm usually at the winery by like 8.
Wow.
My cellar actually starts at 6.
Oh my goodness.
So the cellar crew goes 6 to 2:30. I start at 8 because, well, I don't want to be here at 6.
Fair.
I learned that's too early for me.
Yeah, fair.
And with the kid, it's beneficial to kind of come in a little later. She's not in middle school, so obviously she's pretty self-sufficient at this point. But oddly, I drink wine, I don't drink. I taste wine all day long. The last thing I want to do when I go home is have more wine.
Yeah.
So
Am I allowed to talk about your predilection towards red wine?
at some point,
Okay.
I will never open a bottle of Cabernet at home on a weeknight. I'm usually probably going to have a cocktail, or a bottle of sparkling. But the problem when you open a bottle of sparkling wine is you got to drink it in the same day because it's not good the next day. So you're in it for the $7.50.
Yeah. Fair.
I also have 2 golden retrievers, so that requires at least an evening walk. So we go for an after dinner walk every night for about a mile. In the winter, it's a little rough. It's dark. The dogs have lights on them. It's a whole vibe.
Yeah.
So I think it's fitting in movement whenever I can. And then we also kind of have a really boring rule that we don't drink on school nights. I say boring because I work in the wine industry. And I'm like, I don't drink alcohol on Sunday through Thursday because it's a school night.
It's fair. I do that too.
So that's how we
Yeah.
balance it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to be responsible for something like that. You know.
And it's not that I'm not tasting wine all day,
all
Monday
day.
through Friday.
Come on, like-
So it's not true abstinence. It's
How many
like
barrels would you say you go through a week? Just a try.
taste, like how many barrels do I sample?
Yeah.
I'm probably, by the end of this week, I probably will have tasted 50 different individual barrels.
That's not too intense.
It's not too much. Some days tomorrow I'm in the vineyards all day. So I won't be tasting wine tomorrow, but I'll be going to some of our grower sites and just kind of seeing how the season's happening, how bud break is going. Because right now is that prime time to see how the vines are waking up. So I'm going to go do that tomorrow.
Do you have a favorite label under Hess?
Ooh, like
No, I'm just saying.
Under the Hess umbrella, what's my favorite wine?
Yes. Or, this is a 2-part question. So go ahead.
I think I want the second part before I answer the first one.
No, the second part is actually totally different.
Oh, okay.
He's squirreling you.
He wants to know what my favorite Hess wine is to drink right now. Pick a favorite child. There's a reason I only had one, Nate, so I don't have to pick a favorite. I unfortunately make 30 different wines, so picking a favorite's
30?
which finger am I cutting off here?
Yeah.
I think the wine that's closest to my heart is our Mount Veeder Cabernet.
Okay.
I think it's the wine that has the best sense of place. I think it's the wine that really shows where we have come and where we are going. So, and it's the wine that reminds me the most of being at the estate. After your experience today and having tasted the vertical and taken the ATV tour, I think you'd maybe agree.
Not only do I agree, but I get it. I mean, I learned so much today from a intricacy perspective that, no matter what you say about whiskey, particularly bourbon, and I love bourbon, there's really not that much complexity to bourbon. I'm just going to be completely honest. And I think people know that. I'm very honest and open about these things. I love my bourbon. Doesn't mean I don't like it. But there's only so many ways to use New American oak and the same recipe, maybe with a slightly different amount of corn. Whereas in Scotch, you can use every single cask on planet Earth from the dawn of time. This is a new dawn for bourbon and rye where you have finishes. So there's not even a comparison. So going out and seeing the difference between your 2-row and your 3, is that, how do I say it? Or like when you're talking about the arms, there's 2 arms.
Oh, the different pruning techniques.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. The 2 and the 3, and just learning about that. I didn't even know that until today. And so I think it's really nice.
Can you explain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, earlier we were talking about pruning techniques of a traditional cordon pruned versus cane pruned. And how we were laying down 2 or 3 canes depending on the thickness of the trunk of the vine. It's all about vine health. It's all about vine balance because each vine has a major impact of the tank of the wine as it goes on. Because everything that happens to that grape will end up showing up in the wine.
Unbelievable.
It is so complex. And then we went into the cellar room and you were so gracious to pull some samples for us from different types of barrels. And I think that was one of the most interesting things that I've probably experienced from a winery tour, because the difference between whiskey barrels and wine barrels is super robust. And so maybe speak to that, because I think that's something that our audience knows, like, oh yeah, with toast versus char, right? But there's a lot of differences in the barrels.
Right. So, I mean, on the surface, a barrel is a barrel. It's a wood container that keeps liquid in it, right? In wine, we put major emphasis on whether it's French, American, or Hungarian. We put a lot of emphasis on its medium, tight, or loose grain, so the grain of the oak. We also put major emphasis on the forests that they come from. So different regions in France will actually have a different impact on the barrel. And so depending on the type of wine, like most of my French oak barrels for red wine are what we call Cooper Select. So we let the barrel maker decide how the barrel's gonna be put together from different regions in France. For the white wines, we use a lot of Allier. So it's one of the forests in France. Wine barrels have zero tolerance for impurities. So they're gonna be completely perfect staves. And then depending on the wine, for my whites, I prefer a water bent. So the barrels are bent underwater and then toasted. And then in my Cabernet barrels, they're usually fire bent. So they're bent over the open fire, probably very similar to how they're being done for bourbon and whiskey casks, but not charred to the same effect. Yeah. So we're talking difference of minutes over the fire. So it's, 15, 20, 25, 21 minutes is like how we're getting medium plus long, light long. So there's all these different toast levels, and those give us spice characteristics. So I really like Hungarian oak for our mountain wines because of how it fleshes out the palate and makes it really round and rich. And then I use the French oak because it gives a spice level.
What a difference.
Right?
Today, when you were teaching.
French takes a long time to integrate. Yeah, so huge. You were tasting wines that were 4 or 5 months old, not integrated at all. The oak is sitting right on top of that wine, and it's just sitting there.
And the nose that you had said, and you could probably see it on my face, I was like, what is going on right now? It was so different. And then I tried the palate, and I was like, holy smokes, it was just night and day from the nose. And then you could see that the amount of time that it needs really does need to open for that 3 or 4 years or 3.5 left. But what a difference. Like, absolute shocker. Yeah. I think the Hungarian that you tasted us on was automatically primed to go.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Versus the French was so different. Wow.
Yep.
Anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I always equate winemakers use barrels like chefs use spices.
Oh,
wow.
I gotta pull that clip. That's great.
Really?
Yep. So we'll purchase barrels from different vendors, different coopers, different forests, different suppliers, because we're adding layers of spice and complexity through the toast of the barrel. So we use barrels like chefs use spices.
I love that. That's awesome. When you gave us the tour, and there's been a lot of technology updates, but one of the things, there's been a few really key aspects within the Hess history, right? So like there's an earthquake, there was wildfires, and you've been here through all of those things. How has that impacted, decision making, when releases, products, things like that?
I feel like from what Mother Nature can throw us at this point, I'm pretty unflappable. I've seen it all.
Yeah.
So, frost year, okay, whatever. That's easy. Wildfires, well, okay, I've been to this rodeo. It sucks, but I know what to do. So I feel like it's really given me the equipment to handle what's come at me with a knowledge that allows to be level-headed. It's eliminated the panic of, oh crap, I've never seen this before. I don't know to handle this. Like, what do we do? What do we do? Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I've done it a few times now. I know what to do. I know how the wines will turn out. I think it's giving me tools I never would have imagined when I was studying it at school. So when I was studying winemaking at Davis, there was no talk about, smoke taint. That wasn't a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Wildfires weren't as frequent back in 2002 through 2004.
Of course, absolutely.
Right?
Wow.
So we didn't talk about smoke taint. And so now it's a big industry thing where I swear half of Davis is focusing on what do you do with smoke tainted wines.
Well, you mentioned the number of years that you couldn't produce this year, and I was thinking to myself, or that year, and I was thinking to myself, that's a lot of years, not only just to not be able to produce, but to not sell.
Right.
That's quite mind-blowing that you have to take that into account if you're going to get into wine.
Which you never had to.
That's
So
what I mean.
But I think, you know what the real testament is, and the one thing that we do really well here is we power through adversity and we find the good in every vintage. So in 2017, we actually, which was the 35th anniversary of Hess, we were actually able to produce a Cabernet because it was actually brought in time before we were affected by the fire. So we had this beautiful 35th anniversary Cabernet that we're still selling right now. And so there's always a grass is greener side. So like we talk about these things like it's the end of the world, but honestly, like through adversity, you become stronger. And so I think that's one of the things is like, I mean, Tim and Sabrina entered in the worst time because they took over in 2012. 2014, we had a devastating earthquake. And then, you know, it's like the list goes on. But I think that really shows elegance and grace to what we've been able to do up here. And we just quietly keep plugging along. We've learned what works. And so I think we continue to stand the test of time because we've learned what works. And we've been able to introduce technology into that has allowed us to continue to find the good in everything. So
That grape machine is the greatest thing I've ever.
my optical sorter is so much fun.
That is so sick. Wow.
The technology is so cool, and it's really a testament to what you all are building and the focus on the future. And I think elegance and grace is a great way to describe Hess. It's beautiful. The property is beautiful. The way you all host is really elegant and graceful. And there's also this world-renowned art collection here that is part of the experience, and it's really cool.
You've been amazing. This has been so much fun, and I think that I want to let people know more about it and try to get people to come out here to see just how dynamic this property is. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Like, you either go to an art gallery or you go to a winery, but you don't go to both.
No, you don't go to both.
Wow.
Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on Caviar and Chips.
Just your favorite year?
I didn't answer that question, did I?
I let you. We almost let you escape that question.
I was just gonna say.
I would say I probably have to pick 3 favorite years. I don't have just one.
Fair.
2008 was the first vintage I started here. And so I think that one holds a very special place in my heart. It's the first year I got to make our Alomi Cabernet, the one I was talking about earlier, that's sub 50. So it was super fun to make that in a place that I was, I think, 26 years old, wide-eyed, blonde-haired, and confused as heck. And my boss told me, don't worry, you got this. And I'm like, well, that's the best advice I've ever heard is don't worry, you got this. So I just said, okay, I got it. And so I started in August, and the first grapes came 7 days after I started. So I was like, well, my boss says, okay, don't worry, you got this. So I guess don't worry, you got this. So I would say that's probably one of the vintages I look back with like fondness because it was like literally trial by fire.
Yeah.
Then I think my next favorite would actually have to be 2012. That was the year my daughter was born. So I think if I didn't say that, she'd probably shank me in my sleep. Now that we're 13 and angsty. But I think probably one of my more memorable vintages was 2018, which was the first year we got to make wine in the cellar out there. And so that's when we really started elevating the technology that we're using and really refining what we were doing here. So I think those would be my 3 favorite.
Thank you so much for having us, to the Hess team, Stephanie, Audrey, and everyone. Y'all are amazing. The hospitality around here is truly next level. You are a wealth of knowledge. Come back anytime.
Anytime.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Please like, subscribe, follow us on all the socials. Stephanie, shout out your socials.
Wifey Popey.
There you go.
She's Wifey Popey on Instagram.
Hess Collection, Lion's Head Wines. Okay.
And y'all definitely come visit Hess. If you ever come to Napa, make sure you reach out to this team. Tastings tours available Thursday through Sunday, correct?
Correct.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah, chef lunches. It's, truly one of the best experiences in Napa. So, awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks.
guys.
Bye. Love ya.
Love ya.
Bye.